Okay, so we're back. I had to have a little bit of something to drink, and I was looking in this case, and I couldn't figure out how to get the case off or the shroud off to get to the power supply area because it's the first thing we're going to do. So I actually had to read the manual of a computer case to figure out how to do it. So I mean, good job. Good job, Fantex, for making me figure out how to do something. I mean, that's not bad. And it turned out it was extremely easy. You're watching the really quick way I did it right now is 3 thumb screws, which is nice with the thumb screws. It's easy on, easy off, and that pops right out. So what we've got here is we've got our case. Now, I have already taken off both the front and the back panel. And when I say front and back, I mean the sides. This is the front panel. No need to ever take that off. All right, so the very first thing we're gonna do on our build is we're gonna put the power supply in first. And why do we do that? I don't know, it's just what I chose to do. It makes the most sense because once we get that power supply in, I think we're gonna put the shroud back on and nope, in fact, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna put the power supply in and I have it sitting right here. I've undone it from its case. And how are we going to do that? Well, obviously, it only goes in one way, to be honest. And that way is that the fan should be pointing down, which makes sense. And look at that, it pops right in there. Ta-da! Okay, we're done. See you next time on how to build a... No, I'm kidding. So what we need to do here is, and this case is nice. What I was going to do is I was going to move the camera so that you can see what's going on in there. So we've got our power supply, and it really only goes in one way. And it's really nice that it has these really thick, good, strong rubber bumpers in here. And that's going to help with any kind of vibration that we might run into with the case. And next what we have to do is we have to figure out which of these giant screws in here are going to be the ones that we're going to need to put into this spot right here to get these 4 in there. Now, I've got one tool that I'm pretty much going to use this entire build, and it's this. It's a screwdriver. I suggest you get one if you don't have one, because there's no other way to put a computer together without one. So we've got our one screwdriver, and I think just for fun, we're gonna check out the manual just for fun to make sure that we're doing the right thing. So we've got PSU screws, which are these 3 30-seconds or 6 30-seconds, and they are, I don't even know, are they these? That looks about right. We're going to use those. All right, so PSU. And this should go very easily. Not much to it. Chances are if you have to use a lot of force, you're using the wrong screws. Seems like they're all 632s, which means 32 is the number of when you're talking about a screw. 6 is kind of the width, how wide a screw is. So like, you know, the distance between this side and this side. So how the diameter of the screw. That's the 6 part, and then 32 are how many threads per inch or per whatever, per, I'm not really sure, per something, but it's per something. Okay, so the power supply is now very much in, and we're done. No, we're not done. So the next thing we're gonna put in is the motherboard, because that seems like it should be the next thing that goes in. You know what I might want to do first? I think I'm going to put in the water cooling system next, only because I've never done it before, and I don't know if I'll need to remove this top fan out of the computer first. And yeah, so I think I'm going to do that next. Let me show you what I'm looking at, what I'm trying to do. If we can turn this around. So basically what we got here is we've got this big radiator, and it really needs to go in the top here. And I'm pretty sure it's going to without a problem. But for me to mount it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to need to take the top off and mount it that way, because I can't get to the screws I need to get to. And the only thing I was concerned with is, because this is so deep right here, I'm concerned with whatever's going to go right here. But if the very next thing down here is the card reader, and then my optical drive is down here, I should have plenty of room. And that's another reason why you want a big case, because even though this is a huge monster of a case, I'm already having room constraints. You know, I'm already having some issues, not issues so much, but just concerns with where things can go. And now when I'm building this, I want to make sure that I'm going to have room to put this in a safe place while I do the motherboard. And I'm not super confident that these hoses should be moved around much during, yeah, and that's gonna kind of go, because the processor basically goes about here-ish. Okay, so I'm not gonna do this right now that I'm thinking about it. And you know, part of doing a good install is the planning, and that's what we're doing right now. We're making sure that whatever we do, we're gonna have room to do the other things that we need to do. And I was not confident that I would have room. So that just means we can move right to the motherboard. And what you're looking for when you're installing a motherboard is, they're very standard now. They have all these risers, and sometimes the risers are in a little baggie in your box, and sometimes they're already connected, which in a good case, from what I'm understanding, they're already connected. So bully for Phanteks for making that happen. This is a really nice case. I'm really happy with it so far. Okay. So what you're looking for is all the connectors right in there, the things that you're going to be hooking, you know, plugging stuff into. And that obviously goes into this big hole right over here. So there is only one way that these go in. You cannot mess it up. I suppose you could if, I mean, you've tried really super hard, but, and look at that. It fits right in there. And once it's in, it's in. There's no moving that around or anything like that. But before we screw it all in, I need the little plate. I need a little plate that's going to go in the back. That's going to make it look nicer. So this guy right here, this plate needs to go in here somehow. And whoops, we're going to open this up. Wow, it's almost like a granola bar. That's how you open it up. Okay. And so two things. I'm going to make sure that it's not just a situation where I can pop it right on. And I believe it is something I can just pop right on. Or is this going on the inside? It goes on the inside. All right, so we've already screwed up because this plate has to go in there before the motherboard goes in. So easy enough. I can just pull the motherboard right out. It's not like it's, what? There we go. Okay. And make sure you don't set that on something metal, because there's lots of connector type things. Okay. And then that's going to go right in here. Just like how? Just like that. Good. Just like that. There. And it pops in there really nicely. Ooh, and this is actually something I haven't seen before. A lot of times you just get a stupid little plate, but this actually has some sound. I don't know if that's sound deadening or just there's a little bit of padding. I've never seen that in a plate before, which is kind of nice. Okay, so let's just pop that right back in there. And it's odd that this is giving me the most trouble that I think anything's going to give me today. There we go. Pop, pop, pop. There. And now it's in there pretty good. It's not moving. Now we can put the motherboard back in just that way. And these little things will shine right through there. And look at that. It's so much nicer when that thing's in there already because, whoops, oh no. What do we got here? So it went in perfectly before, and now not so much. Okay, we had to push it forward just a little bit, but as you can see now, all the holes, all these screw holes are lining up. So very good. And we're gonna check the front here to make sure that everything lines up there. We're gonna be able to plug stuff in. And I have a kind of a tester here. So we're gonna just stick that in there. Yeah, that looks pretty good. These all work. Yep, so yeah, no problems. Excellent. So that all works. And then we're gonna screw it down. And I am not gonna show you every screw to put in here because that would be boring. So we'll probably just jump ahead. Oh, it came with standoff screws, but I didn't need them. Sometimes your board might need a couple extra standoff screws, but I don't. And I'm not really sure where they go, but we're good. You can either watch this in super fast motion or we'll just jump from the first one to the last one. But they should go in very, very easily, and then you don't want to crank down on them super hard because, to be honest, this is just really to keep the motherboard from flying out of there. Now, a lot of times I'll go to the, oh dear. All right, if you dropped a screw in there, just be kind of careful in pulling it out. And you probably don't want to use something metal to like dig around in there to try and move the screw to somewhere you like to pick it up easily. So, I mean, we have lots of things around that aren't metal that you can use. It's probably best to use a screwdriver that's magnetized, but then now that I'm thinking about it, maybe not, because you don't normally want magnets around computer parts. Not that there's that much magnetism in a tool like that, but maybe best just to not. So I'm going to take back that suggestion I just had and say no magnets around your computer. And you want to be careful when you're putting screws in, especially as you can see all these tiny little components in here. I mean, they are tiny, little tiny. And the last thing you want to do is like miss with your screwdriver and dig into the board or pop one of those little pieces off. That's going to be a bad day. So you want to be careful. If you have the room, you can try to start the screws with your fingers. If you don't have the room, sometimes you just don't have the room. But better the safe than not safe, you know? You want to try and baby your stuff because you just spent a ton of money on this. And this board was not cheap. This was the most expensive motherboard I've ever bought. And one of the reasons why it was expensive because it's the new platform. It's the new DDR platform and Haswell E platform. So there's not that much in the way of choice for these Haswell E boards. This one in particular cost me $240. Now this was one of the more economical ones I could find. The other one I was considering was $320. And it didn't give me $80 of value, so that's why I decided not to go with it. Okay, so those are all the screws that I see screw holes for, I believe. Yes. So we're going to now move on to something else. Okay. Now, so we have our memory right here, and generally speaking, there are two shades I'm not sure how well that's going to show up, but there are two shades of black on this board. There's black and then there's a dark gray. If I understand correctly, I'm to put all four of these memory sticks in the gray first. And when I see this, I see C1D1, A1B1. That's correct. So they make it almost foolproof. I could have screwed that up, but I didn't. So we're going to very carefully put these in. Now, you're going to notice that since the beginning of time, I guess, there's a long section and a short section, and that's weird. There's even, I don't know if you can see that, and I'll see if I can show you a little bit better here. Come on, camera, focus on this. There we go. There's an actual height difference. And I've never seen that in memory before. So it's longer in the center and shorter on the ends. That's really interesting. Anyway, so you'll also notice that one side has more pins than the other side. You just have to make sure that you don't screw that up and try to jam it in there the wrong way. So I know a lot of you have done builds before, and this is all, you know, silliness to you, but so you have these little tabs, and this is the first time I've seen that you only have one tab. Usually there's tabs on either side. Anyway, you just pop those down, boop, boop, and then we're gonna put these in here. I'm gonna make sure they're in there correctly. Yep, okay, so this gets right into the little slot here. Good. Now when I push that in, there, the little slot happens to just pop in all by itself. All right. And I believe a lot of people do this before they even install the board. And the reason why they do it is because you do sometimes have to use a good bit of force to, look at that, I'm already trying to, no, I'm doing it right. Sometimes you have to use a good bit of force to get the clip to snap in there. This one's not so bad. So when they do that, sometimes they do it on a box or on some flat table, because you can sort of see, maybe you can't see because you're looking straight down, but there's a little flex in the board when I'm pushing down, and it doesn't really scare me that much. These boards probably won't do anything under that strain, but you know, you've spent a lot of money. So, okay, and then these appear to be backwards. Hey, that's cool, man. All right, so I'm gonna put this one in here, in all the gray section, right? Yeah, that's gonna fit. And we go right in here. Oops, put it in the channel, Greg, good job. Come on. Is that open? It's open. All right, there we go. So that one goes in, and the last one. Turn it around like that. Put it in like that. There. So hopefully you even heard that click. All right, so the memory's in. That is 32 gigs of very fast RAM, and I'm very excited and interested to know if I'm gonna see any kind of difference coming from a DDR3 environment with RAM that's probably, it might be 1800 megahertz RAM, and this is 2666? Yes, 2666, so it's 2 times the devil. Anyway. All right, so the next thing we want to do probably is put in, we'll stand this up and we'll put in the card and we'll put in the radiator for the cooler. And you can always get a finger under here because that's what you need to do to pull, whoops, that's the filter. Oh, maybe you have to pull the filter out first. Let's see if that's a situation. This is supposed to just pull off, no? Yes, okay. All right. Top tip here, when you are pulling off a front panel, be super careful pulling it off at the top, because what happens, and I'll show you as I turn this around, is there are, especially on this one, because you have the cool thing right here, there are cables or wires right there. And where do those wires go? Who knows? But the point is, you have to be careful that you don't just manhandle it and rip it right off, like I almost did. because this will be disconnected, and there's one more to disconnect. And usually they're really easy to disconnect. Got it, okay. So there you go. So you had to make sure that these two things came off. And I don't even know what that's for. Oh, because this happens to have a row of LEDs in there. That's why. Sorry, that was loud. Okay. So I'm going to set this down here aside. Very good. All right, and let's go ahead and install this. And it should be easy. Look at that, just fits right in there. And actually, we're going to want it to sit right there because that's where it's going to line up. Oh, and it's convenient because I've got little holes there. Good. All right. All right, so here's our piece that we need to stick in there, and that's going to go in there. Now we're looking at this hole. Can you see that hole? You can't. Well, there's a tiny little hole here, and there's a hole on here that's going to match up. And as soon as it does, blammo, that's where it goes. When you're screwing into plastic, you're going to use a screw with a head with a tip on it. So something like this. They have little tips on them. Or maybe these. We'll try these first, and if these don't work, then we'll go to something like that. But a lot of times this is all trial and error. All right, so now you're finally understanding the difference between something that is expensive and something that is cheap. This was cheap, and unfortunately, there is no such thing as one of these that's not cheap because they're cheap. And I believe what we have to do is put these ridiculous things. Now that's weird. Why would they put that plastic? They have that plastic protection thing on there. All right, and now we've got two tiny little screws. I don't think those go there. I think these go here. Oh my God, these are tiny. All right, we need to take a short break. I need to grab my tiny little screwdriver. So, okay, I'm back, and now this is the second little good tool set to have. It's just a tiny little screwdriver set. Because if you're going to use these tiny screws, and they are tiny, you're going to have to please excuse my dirty hands. I just did a brake job on my car today, and got dirty. All right, so I'm going to assume, and it worked out so good last time when I was assuming, that the screw goes right in this little hole. Oh my gosh, I wish I had tiny hands. Good, like that. And we'll just screw that right in there. Or we won't. It's worth noting that there are a lot of frustrating things when you're doing a computer build. A lot of little things can go wrong. And the worst thing, the absolute worst thing, really? Are they supposed to be tight? Who knows? The absolute worst thing is when you're done, you got everything finished, everything's connected, you plug it in, you boot it up, and something's not working. I've had that situation before, and if you don't live near a place where you can swap out parts or buy new parts, a lot of times you're kind of screwed because you don't know what's wrong in your build when it doesn't work. So you have to be you either have to have backup parts around, or you just have to really hope that it works out. Okay, so I wish this disconnected from that because this would be way easier to work with. All right, so I believe what happens now is we screw this into there. Yep, that's what's going to happen. See? Da-da. Yep, okay. All right, we are now back on track. Good job, everybody. I am not entirely happy with how that sticks out of there a little bit, but what are you going to do? All right. So as it turns out, you can still see the little hole moving back and forth in there. I hope you can see that. I can't really see it on the little monitor here, but I can see it with my eyeballs. Okay, and then we're going to use these little screws, and I can use this tiny little screwdriver to do it. No, I can't. Get it started though. Yeah, just gonna screw that right in there. Get in there, get in there. Good. We're gonna turn this around, get the other side. Okay. Where are we? Isn't that interesting? To be completely honest, I don't know how to lock that down on this side. There. And then we're just going to be done with it. I'm sorry this part of the thing took so long. It's not supposed to. This is just one of those dumb little things that you may or may not run into. And it's only because I chose to have this stupid thing. All right. So now we have, I keep sneaking under there. Now we have our thing all connected, all good. Okay. The next thing we're going to do, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the radiator in, and that's going to be another thing that might take a little longer. So I might, if I have to break this up into several pieces, then that's what I have to do. So I'm just going to check and make sure everything is good, and then we're going to move on to the radiator. Okay. So let me put this back in. I don't think that was right. This way. I have so much to learn. There we go. Okay. And before we put the front panel back on, we have to remove this. Ta-da! And this is actually nice. This feels heavy. I think it's because this case is really nice, and there's actually a piece of this is metal. This is actual metal on the front of it. I mean, it's really, really thin metal, but it's still metal, which is, I've never seen that before. These are usually plastic. And while there are plastic pieces, like this is plastic, but this whole front is metal, which is really, really nice. All right, so let me stick these things through here again, and we're gonna pop this front back on, like so. Good. And I'm nervous that I didn't pay any attention to which of those, which of these go with which of these. It doesn't appear that they're any different, but I'll just go ahead and stick those back together here. Stick this back together here. All right, so everything's back to normal. And we're gonna move on. Oh, we're not gonna move on because, oh, maybe we are. I need access to the top here, which I've got. Oh, we're good, we're good. I thought for a minute, because I do what hopefully everybody else does, something you're doing, is I go on YouTube and I look at other people's videos of their reviews of these things, and the review for the one step down from this, you had to take off the front to take off the top to get to the top area. This one you don't. It's really nice. Once the top comes off, you've got access to all the rails in here that we're going to use to install our radiator. So I guess the best way to do that is we're going to drop this on its side here. We are going to drop this down this way and move it in so that you're going to be able to see and watch me fail You're going to watch me fail at the same time that I'm actually failing, which will be great.